Hello and welcome to my channel, and I am Firehawk the Master Nobi, and we are continuing our Hunter x Hunter finished stories, and today it is Kurapika's story that we're going to finish and say what happens to Kurapika, which obviously Kurapika is a very interesting character. Everybody loves him. He's highly ranked. He's like the second favorite character in all of Hunter x Hunter. It's kind of crazy how the ranks. It's Killua, Kurapika, and then Gon. And Gon's supposed to be like the main character, but he's everyone's third favorite, according to two different polls, two different times that the fans have taken. So this is a fan favorite, second favorite person in the series, and he is very interesting. He has great abilities. He has the Scarlet Eyes, which makes it very interesting. He has a very tragic backstory, obviously, of his whole clan being wiped out except for him. He's the last remaining person of his clan, which is super sad, but that's where his goals come in line. He wants to collect, well, in the beginning he wanted to kill the Phantom Troop and collect the Scarlet Eyes. He had a great hatred for the Phantom Troop. We saw that when someone tried to fake being part of the Phantom Troop, and he has killed two members of the Phantom Troop and took away for a while, took away Crollo's Nen, where he wouldn't be able to use Nen. So we saw that. And then his goal is obviously to collect all his clans' Scarlet Eyes. That was his two goals in the beginning. Those goals changed later on throughout the series, and we see that he doesn't mention his hatred for the Phantom Troop, but he mentions collecting all the Scarlet Eyes. So we do see that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But Kurapika is very unique in the sense that Kurapika is the only one in the series that, for Nen users, is the only one that has two types of Nen users. When he has this, normally he is a conjurer. He can conjure up weapons, and that's why he has the chains. He can conjure chains, and he has every chain has a different use. One he can use to see if somebody's telling the truth. He can also give people different abilities, temporarily take abilities from people and give it to other people. He has a lot of different things he can do with his chains, but definitely the one telling the truth is very interesting. But the other classes are enhancers, emitters, manipulator, transmutators, mutilation, and then obviously the sixth class is specialists. And so there's not that many specialists in Hunter x Hunter. Crollo is also a specialist because he can use all five of these different abilities with his ability, and steal abilities from people in the book. But anyways, but when he has the Scarlet Eyes, he becomes a specialist. So he can use all of this when he becomes, when he uses the Scarlet Eyes. So that's what makes him so unique, that he has two Nen abilities. Normally he's a conjurer, but when he changes his eyes to Scarlet, he becomes a specialist, which makes him very, very unique, and is something that I really like about Kurapika. He's very, very interesting. And very smart, very intelligent. That's why I always like about him. He definitely has brain on his shoulder. But an interesting fact about him is he's the only one of the four characters that doesn't have a birthday on the Japanese holiday, but instead his birthday is April 4th. And again, it kind of goes in with Hisoka. Hisoka was 4-4. And later on was the fourth member, pretended to be the fourth member of the Phantom Troop. But if you see, his number is also play. Like, there's so many like little hinted things in there. I just like to share these little things while we're talking about it. Obviously, in the Hunter examination, Gon was 403, Kurapika was 404, and then Leorio was 405. Of course, 99 was Killua, but his birthday is April 4th, so 4-4. So it technically would be 4. So 404 is a play on that, and basically it's also like 4 in Japanese. It's a very unlucky. It's the most unlucky number in the Japanese culture because it's so close to death. And so, but his reason for his is different, where uh, Hisoka's supposed to be seen as unlucky, even though he plays with cards and all this stuff. Um, but Kurapika is supposed to be seen as the god of death or the bringer of death, and so that's kind of the play on that, in that sense. And they did call him in the later on when they did the predictions. They did refer to him in the tarot cards as the god of death. So it is kind of interesting in that regards. So April 4th, definitely. So originally his original story for the creator, his original story for Kurapika was to basically have a battle like basically Nethero and Mermith, the king of the Chimera Ants, how they basically had a battle where Mermith killed Nethero, but he still ends up dying from that battle. That's kind of how this battle was going to go down. Crollo was going to kill Kurapika, but because of it, he was still going to die. So they would still both died, and then Kurapika would have died in the arms of Leorio. That's kind of the original storyline. To see the original story idea didn't end up happening that way. He did change it, and you can see the differences between the two different animes too, how that goes and how that changes. Where they kind of Crollo kind of went after him in the first animated series in the 1999 series, but in the 2011 series he kind of wanted to leave him be. He was kind of more scared of him in the second series. But anyways, but he didn't want anybody else to touch him. He wanted to be the one to touch him. But I think that this is definitely an interesting concept. His Kurapika's obsession with the Phantom Troop, and you could see that it was driving him and it was changing him and it was making him a little bit more reckless. And because of his intelligence, he could see stuff like that, and he had other people telling him that. And so he changes who he is later on. In the beginning, like I said, his goals were to kill the Phantom Troop and to get all the Scarlet Eyes, his clan's Scarlet Eyes. That changes later on, that now when they talk about his goal, it is to get all his brethren's eyes, all the clan's Scarlet Eyes back. That's what his goal is now, where it's not more driven. Because when he did kill the last person he killed, and when he took Crollo's Nen, he was a little saddened by it, and he saw that it was changing him, and he saw it was changing him for the worse, and not changing him for the better. And he was getting driven. Like, most people don't understand, when you're driven by hatred for someone, that changes who you are. You become bitter. You become like the way you think, you're not so strategic, and you'll make stupid mistakes. So Kurapika learned from that, instead not to be like Gon and have those rage moments and stuff like that. And a lot of people did talk about him having a rage moment on the ship. I don't think that would happen. Kurapika is too intelligent, too smart for that. And he is driven by basically his responsibility. He already promised Otto that he would not, that his priority was to protect her and Prince Wubble, which is it's actually a princess, but technically all boy or girl, and they're all princes. So anyways, he made that his priority. So there would be no rage, because he's very stuck in his responsibilities and his goals, and that's why he sees his responsibility as the last member of his clan to gather all his brethren's eyes. And I think, just like we saw, that's why I think him and Leorio were always good friends. I know some people want to ship them together, and stuff like that. I think the reason why they are really good friends is because they are both goal driven. Where Gon and Killua Gon had a goal, but it was he achieves it in the series. He wanted to find his dad. Um, Killua, his goal really was just to get away from his family for a while. And so they both accomplished those goals, but they were not long term goals or harder goals necessarily to obtain. And so where Leorio and Kurapika had harder goals that were going to take a lot of work to gain. And that's why Kurapika was using the Hunters Association. And he was going to now he can use his power as a Zodiac to gather these eyes and gather them up. And I think, just like I said, Leorio becomes a doctor. I see that happening. I see the way I'd want to see the Kurapika's story end is for him to finish his goal, to accomplish his goal of gathering his brethren's, his clan's eyes. And they're nowhere on the market. No one else has them. He puts them in a place where no one else can find them, and makes some kind of a shrine, kind of like this, where it's a place where he can go, but no one else knows where it's at. But I definitely see that happening. I also see him, because of how he's driven, is that he becomes the future chairman of the Hunter Association. Some people want Leorio. I think Leorio just jumped in it because he was so mad at Gene. He didn't want Gene to win, so he jumped in to stop Gene from becoming the next chairman. And I think that's it wasn't really important to him, to Leorio. I think Kurapika has a better head on his shoulders. He has a really good mind. As you see in the Dark Continent, it's usually him calling the shots. Even Leorio listens to him a lot because he knows that when it comes to a lot of things, that Kurapika is the one that has the better knowledge, has the better head on his shoulders. And so I think that he does become the future chairman, and that's also what's going to help him gather all the eyes, is being the future chairman of the Hunter Association. And he'll fall in love with the Hunter Association. But now, what happens with his love life? We know that he gathers all the eyes. That's accomplished. He gets a chairman. I'm not. None of these are in order of how it happens necessarily. But I think who does he? The last question that remains is, what about his future wife? And so some people always want to ship him with Leorio. I don't think that they really have that kind of relationship. Not that would matter, obviously. I really like the couple that I always liked, Hisoka and Lumi. Leorio, and I just saw Leorio and Kurapika. I always just saw as really close, kind of like Gon and Killua. I never saw them in a romantic way. The first person I noted, in the series, the person I thought Kurapika should be with in the series was Neo. I thought, even though she was kind of entitled and kind of a diva, I thought, he's taking care of her. They might get close, and that might be someone that he ends up with down the line. But obviously, we know that her ability was stolen, and later on, we know that he can, in the Dark Continent mangas, we know that that Chrollo can no longer use that ability, and which Chrollo can use those abilities as long as the person's alive. He cannot steal abilities from someone that's dead. When he sees an ability done, if the person's still alive, he can steal it. Once he sees it, he can steal their ability. So her ability, and the only people that still have full use of their abilities is the Phantom Troop members. He can use all Phantom Troop members' powers, but they still have theirs. Where the other ones once he steals it, the other person can no longer use it. So her ability was gone. But we know that her value was from her ability. Her dad's value was from her ability. Now this is gone. Most likely they have no more value. just like anything to in a kind of mafia type setting, they are no longer useful, so it's time to get rid of them. So I do believe that she is dead, even though most people would love to see this, love to see them together, love to see them have a kid. I don't personally think that she's alive anymore. If there's nobody there to make her feel valued, I think that she definitely is no longer in existence, and that's just how it goes. Unfortunately, um, you know, there is deaths in Hunter x Hunter Association. I think that she dies because she has no more value, and she doesn't need to be protected anymore because she doesn't have anything to protect. I think her and her dad both die, and so that's kind of where I see it happening. There could be other things that could have happened along the way, but I think that's how I see it. So I think the person that I see, and some of you guys that have not read the mangas won't know anything about this, and that's why a lot of people don't ship them together as much because it's in the mangas, so you have to go read it. But to me, I'm such a Hunter x Hunter fan. I loved the series that I had to read the mangas. If they come out with another one, I'll definitely read more of them. I definitely would hope for more, but unfortunately, sicknesses are a serious thing, and obviously, the creator being sick is definitely really sad. I hope that he gets better and doesn't is around for a long time. So I mean, that's always my hope and my wish. But whether he's still around, we never get any more Hunter x Hunter. That doesn't matter to me. I just don't want to see anybody's life snuffed out. So what I see for Kurapika is now in the Dark Continent, he's protecting Oto and Prince Wobble, which is a girl. Like I said, all of them are considered prince in this kingdom. All princes, regardless of gender, are prince. So Prince Wobble and Oto, who Oto is an interesting character. She wanted luxury. She wanted to get out of her situation, and she was kind of like and similar to Neo in a way, where she wanted something, and she was felt privileged when she was married to, because she is married to the king. She's the eighth and final wife of the king, and she wanted that wealth. She wanted to get out of her situation, and be in a better situation. It was enticed by all the good things, but then regretted it after she had her daughter, and regretted everything. She said it in a quote that she regretted all of it, and then she asked Kurapika if she wanted to hold Prince Wobble. That she want to hold her. Which he did. So I think they're going to get close together, and he's going to be drawn to her. And so I think that ultimately, I think that this is the person that he ends up with. I think Kurapika, she's pretty young. By the time they're doing Dark Continent, he's 19. He's 19 years old. He's old enough to be married and all that stuff. And I think that I don't know how Dark Continent ends or how that it all comes about. But in my ending, we know that they have kids later on, by the story that they give us. And so I think that my ending is that he ends up with Oto, and that he takes care of Wobble as his own. He raises that as his daughter, as his child, and he actually has, I believe he has more children later on, and basically rebirths his clan. Rebirths his clan, has more kids. I think that's something that he does have, that does happen for him, and we see that. We see that he has a family. He rebirths his clan with his kids. And yeah, his clan maybe won't be as big a number, but eventually his kids will go have kids, and his clan will eventually regrow and have a connection. It'll never be like it was, but he'll definitely feel like he accomplished something. He got his brother in his eyes. He became the chairman. He gets to lead that next generation, and he'll be able to be there for his children and his wife and his children, and be in a great place. And that's how I see Kurapika's story ending. Some of you might not like that ending. Some of you might not think that it needs to end a different way. But I think that's how it ends. I think he does end up with getting his brother in his eyes. I do think he'll be the chairman. I don't think he kills any more Phantom Troop members. I think Hisoka handles all that. Hisoka is not, I think his goal changed. He accomplishes that goal. He accomplishes something else along the way and becomes a chairman. He gets married to Oto, because the king will be gone. The king will be gone after the session is over. The king will be gone, so she'll be free to marry, and I think that happens. And like I said, I think he raises her daughter as his own. He becomes Wobble's father and takes care of her, and then they have kids of their own. But I don't think they ever I don't think Wobble ever knows that that's not her dad. I think that they basically let her think that Kurapika is her father, and that's how their life goes. And he's still going to be respectable because he's the leader of the Hunter Association. He brings on that next wave of change, and someday he'll be that old guy keeping the ball away from someone like going to Killua. So that's how I see the story ending. Maybe you think it's different, should end different, but that's how I see it ending. So join me next time when we finish. We have 2 more stories to go, Gon and Killua, and we'll see how their stories end. And so join me next time right here.